I found Debbie wandering around the garden as always. Hi there, Debbie.
Hello, Tanya.
Thanks so much for having us here.
Oh, welcome.
Sure. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. When you got here, and how many years ago was that? And what were you faced with?
I moved here 34 years ago, and we had a little house, tiny little house, no garden, it was just felt.
Okay.
Dave had planted the big 4 oak trees.
Okay.
And that was it. So we set about our lawn, getting our lawn going. And then a couple of years while I had kids and that, and then I got stuck in. I have had help to set out the garden, but it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
When you started out, did you have a plan? Did you have an idea where you were going with the garden?
I did get in a professional landscaper,
okay.
and she set out a garden for me, but very low maintenance garden. Okay. So there were just shrubs and conifers.
Right.
And from that basic plan, I've then created, the more time I've had, and I've created the garden that you see today.
So was it the idea that you were going to have a low maintenance garden and that's what you were going to stick with?
Yes.
And then did the garden kind of bug attack?
I never thought I was going to be a gardener. That was for the old people. And the more I got involved, it just snowballed. And then there have been a lot of people around who've monitored me, taught me. So yeah, you've got to put everything into practice. So.
And is that, would you say, is that where your inspiration came from? Do you come from a family of gardeners, or was it the community more that helped you?
I do come from a big family of gardeners. All our relatives lived on farms, so there were always the big farm gardens.
Yes.
So it just suited me fine to go for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that sense of community, I mean, and spending time with the gardeners in Underberg, you do just get that everybody helps each other.
Absolutely. We've got the most wonderful garden club, and the ladies have always just been so willing to help. And I must mention here my husband.
I was about to ask, how do the husbands cope with all this gardening, or are they kind of right behind you?
Dave has always been right behind me, always done my features for me. There are times where you've really got to try and twist his arm to get going, but once he gets going, he doesn't stop. He's been absolutely fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Now, and it always does take a good team, hey?
Absolutely.
And it just makes it so much more fun, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing about us is we were dairy farmers, so we were at home 365 days of the year.
For sure.
So a lot of time is spent at home, and we had all our spare time was spent in the garden.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we have been very lucky.
Debbie, in terms of the garden that you've got, talk us through some of the plants and maybe some of the different areas within the garden. Okay,
the plants, I must say, I've always collected plants. I've been given a lot of plants. I now start browsing nurseries. It's something new.
Yes.
But I don't get a plant for its name or whatever. I like to get unusual, interesting, and pretty plants, but the plants I really value are the ones I've been given, because it reminds me of so many different people, and they're always with me in the garden.
That's awesome, because that is a lot what gardening is about to a lot of folks. Yeah.
Absolutely, very therapeutic.
Oh yes. Yeah. Now you've created some wonderful features in the garden.
I like to have areas where people can sit and spend time. That's why I seem to have quite a few benches and seating areas. And I've made them into like the rooms, so that they can be on their own. And then one thing I've always been insistent is I don't want to be boxed in. So I have put hedges in as windbreaks.
Right.
But in the front of the garden, I didn't want any hedges or anything. And I also like the feeling of leading through onto the farm.
Yes.
And that's why I was so determined to get my 2 gates.
Well, I think they're fabulous. Whatever you had to do to bribe your husband to arrange those, I think it's fabulous. Because it does. I mean, your garden is beyond this that we're in here.
Yes.
Your garden is out there as well, and it's part of the farm.
Absolutely, and I've always gardened with that in mind. So when I managed to find the gates, and I must tell you, those gates come off a farm where my mom grew up.
Oh, awesome.
So it's been very sort of bringing it back into the garden.
Fantastic and very sentimental. Hey?
Yes. I mean, people thought I was mad because I swapped brand new gates for these old gates, but we fixed them up and they're a feature in my garden.
Don't worry, I do similar things. So it's okay, don't feel so bad.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
The features within the garden, I mean, you've got that lovely little bridged area where you walk over, and then this kind of succulent, a bit more formal and arranged areas. Did you have those in mind, particularly when you were creating them?
No, I wanted a bridge. The idea was to have a big water feature.
Okay.
Well, water features are a lot of maintenance, so I scrapped that very quickly. And then this bridge had to lead somewhere. So then it led to this other garden, but then it linked with the sleepers and that.
Okay.
And then I had to try something different, almost formal.
Yes.
So I hope it worked.
I think it does work. I think it does, because you kind of go over the bridge and whoops, look at that, there's a whole something new, and then you turn to your left and there's that big aloe or furcria that's in the corner, and that leads you immediately down to there. And then I think that's exactly what gardens do, what good gardens do. They take you from one area into the next.
Yes, and that's what I'm happy I've achieved, because it's all, I always start with something and I actually have no idea where I'm going.
Well, the plan must be in there somewhere, because you're doing a great job. Debbie, for new gardeners out there, what would be some sound advice for them?
Just stay with simple plants. Use simple plants that are successful. For example, the lamb's ear, your viburnums. Up here where we are, I also say keep evergreen in mind, so that you, in winter time, you still have a garden.
Something in your garden.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was taught by a dear friend of mine that for every 5 plants you buy, make sure 3 are evergreen. And it's something that's stuck in my mind. So in winter time, my garden does go to sleep, but I've still got a garden.
And that's important for the framework, the basic bones and structure of the garden, and that is very, very sound advice for them.
Absolutely.
Well, Debbie, thank you so much. An absolute joy. I can't wait to take another meander through the garden. Thank you so much, and well done.
Thanks, Tanya. Thanks for being here.